different people in different parts of the state, which is very excellent to me. Some of the things I do there, I run job fairs. I interview people all the time. So I have a different outlook on what I'm saying too as a new graduate, because now I'm looking at new graduate resumes all the time and looking at what people did in college to prepare them for the workforce. I post a lot of ads to various job platforms, so I'm talking about Monster, I'm talking about Indeed, I'm talking about Simply Hired, Craigslist even, and also I do a lot of newspaper ads, so I'm writing that stuff up, working with people in the ad department at newspapers, something I never saw myself doing. Spearheading social media. The president of my company is a 65-year-old millionaire, and he is very old school, so we're warming him up to the idea of Facebook and Twitter. It's been a challenge, but it's excellent to see him understand a concept and then give into it and let us work our magic with it. And website edits, so they have this crazy content editor for their website, and I had never done any web editing before, but I'm just picking it up. I just am learning it right now, so any of the... Oh, this is going to be a problem. Any of the text that's on the website, any of the pictures, most likely I took the pictures or I wrote the content, and that's excellent too. I'm also learning some HTML, so I don't know if anyone's worked with HTML, but it's a very valuable skill to have. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some things, what I did and didn't do, looking back. One of the things that I did do was I was an intern. I was an intern twice. My first internship experience, I moved to Washington, D.C. through this program called the Washington Center. Very accessible to everyone at Salem State. There's also some really good funding for it too. If anyone's interested, we can talk about that after. In D.C., I worked at a PR firm, a PR agency, as a social media intern. I loved the city, I loved all the people I met, I loved everyone I worked with, but I realized that public relations and working in an agency atmosphere was definitely not for me. And even though I wasn't thrilled with the work that I was doing, I was happy to have learned that this was something I didn't want to do, so I wasn't going to make that mistake after I graduated, get into a contract position where I'm locked into a year, or my benefits are pending whether or not I have this PR job. So that program was amazing. And then I came home and I said, all right, so I know what I don't want to do, but I still am not sure what I want to do. So I found this other job at McLean Hospital. It's in Belmont. It's right outside of Boston, and it's a psychiatric hospital, and it's affiliated with Harvard. So when I saw Harvard, I was like, bing! Love to have that on my resume. So at McLean, I worked in their public affairs office, working on their weekly internal publications. So pretty much any employee that worked there would get this newsletter blasted out to them weekly. So I did a lot of content, I wrote a lot of articles for that, whether it was about events on campus or research that was being done. And also, McLean Hospital is a teaching hospital, so there's a ton of research and stuff being done, and grant money being given to them, and new scientific things being proven. It was excellent. I had a specific interest in healthcare from a young age. My mother was a nurse. Why they kind of pushed me into nursing. When I was in high school, I worked in a doctor's office. Before I started interning my sophomore year of college, I was working for the Food and Drug Administration in their law enforcement office. So that was also another healthcare type of thing. I was looking at all these crooked pharmacists, making drugs in their bathtub. So I noticed that all the things I have done in my life professionally really had the same thing in common, and I really like the healthcare field. I don't want to, clean up, like I said, spit or anything, but I knew I wanted to be involved somehow. So talking about internships, has anyone started interning yet? Has anyone started? Yeah, you have? Where are you interning?
I interned the last 2 summers at the Vacation Home Rentals website.
Okay, great. So it's some sort of experience that you can talk about and you can somehow work when you're talking to interviewers when you're graduating. That's great. So people don't know where to look for internships, and a lot of times in my experience as a student here, they tell you about internship opportunities. So that's one way, but I would definitely get on Craigslist, get on Monster. The places where you're going to find real jobs, you're also going to find internships. Also look in your paper, stuff like that. company websites. That's another thing I didn't really think about until I was, a senior. I was like, well, maybe I should go directly to companies that I might like and see what their career openings are. So it's a lot of effort, but it's definitely worth it to spend the time looking for all these work opportunities. Extracurricular. So I was talking to some people earlier at this table. Who has been participating in any extracurriculars since they've been at Salem State? Not enough hands. Not enough hands. So the first thing that I started doing, I think I was a sophomore, I was turned on to Peg Dillon, if anyone knows Peg. Someone said, you really need to write for the log. You love to write. You need to do it outside of class. So I was like, yeah, you're right. And I needed work samples. I needed clippings. I needed stuff to bring to interviews. So I got involved in the log, and I wrote for the log for a number of semesters, which was, for the most part, an excellent experience. Who's interested in writing here? Anyone? Okay, so most of us. So the log was excellent, and that's a way for you to express yourself. You can write pretty much whatever you want. And again, I was just so concerned with what is my portfolio going to look like when I'm a senior and I need to have a job. So that was probably where the bulk of all my work samples came from. I also, senior year, Dr. Cook suggested that I work at the admissions department as a tour guide and admissions ambassador, and that was excellent too. And I really looked at that in a different way. I didn't look at it as a part-time job. I was like, this is a way for me to, start interacting with people I'm not comfortable with, or maybe not are from the same culture, or maybe, have different views than me, but we all have the same thing in common, which is Salem State. That was excellent. I really met a lot of good people, in the office and also doing tours and also doing open houses. In my first couple of years at Salem State, I also participated in the Student Judicial Board. Has anyone heard of that? Okay, some people. I'm not sure really what happened to it. It's kind of different than it was, but at that time I was really interested in law, and I thought maybe I want to go to law school, so I thought it would be a good way to kind of see what the judicial process was like. So as you can see, extracurricular, these are all things that even if I did them for a few semesters, I still put them on my resume. It still shows that I wasn't just the person who showed up to class 3 times a week. I actually got involved more on campus, and actually I was a lot happier at Salem State when I was involved on campus. So these are things that people are going to look for. Are you going to go beyond the minimum expectation? Are you going to just go to class, or are you going to get involved past, writing your paper, anything like that? So I really, really suggest that whatever you're interested in, it doesn't even have to be communications related, just get involved on campus. Above and beyond the syllabus. So I guess this comes to Jessica Barnett. No, it's great. Like I said, I needed something to show how much effort I was putting into class. And a lot of the classes they're going to be taking specifically, well actually it's only if you're a PR student, but most of your classes you're going to be having work samples, whether it's something you created in Quark, whether it's a writing piece. You need to save all of that. You need to have a thumb drive where you save everything. And one thing that I always did, and I'm not sure if other people did this, was if you have a writing sample and it comes back with edits, correct it and save it. PDF it so you're not going to lose it, because all that stuff until you intern, until you have professional experience, is going to be what you're going to show employers or intern. People are going to hire you for an internship. You need to be able to show yeah, I've been busting my butt in class and this is what I can do. You need to market yourself. This is one thing that I really did not do in school, and I'm realizing now more that I am done. You need to be an early adopter. Here's a prime example. Does anyone know Dr. Brown? Okay, so you know what his personality is like. He loves social media. He loves Twitter. And he was like, everyone needs to be tweeting. I was saying, no, I'm not tweeting. Not doing it. But then eventually he warmed me up to it, and I started tweeting. None of my other friends did Twitter, whether they were in communications or out of communications. I wasn't talking to anyone. I was just following people. So eventually I deleted my Twitter. My senior year, I did a project where I interviewed with other communications alums, and they would also review my resume and give me feedback on how my resume looked. One person said to me, "Where's your Facebook and your Twitter link?" I said, "Well, I don't want to be found on Facebook and Twitter at all. I just want to remain, anonymous online." She said, "That's wrong." And it's true. You really do need to be engaged in social media online in a professional way. You need to be tweeting about stuff that you care about. You can't say the F word on your Twitter. You really shouldn't say the F word on your Facebook. And I know that everyone tells you, be concerned about how your social media presence is, but coming from someone that's not really that much older than you, it's so important. Nothing that you have to say about whatever party you went to is as important as finding a job after graduation, I promise you. So in your comfort zone, step outside of your comfort zone. So I was talking to Dr. Cook about this. In college I tended to figure out what I was good at and really not go beyond that. I would just be like, well, I'm great at this, and I'm just going to continue to be great at this, and I'm not going to try anything new. And I think that was a big no-no too, because I really didn't open myself up to new things. So be the first of your friends to try a new trend, just like that, like Twitter. Like none of my friends did Twitter, so I was like, I'm just going to cancel my Twitter. Here we go again. Opt for new and challenging experiences over what you're already experienced and great at. And I really wish I had did that. I really wish I tried some different types of classes. Like one of the things I've been learning in my job now is Adobe Flash. Has anyone heard of that? Okay, you're doing better than I did. It's like an animation software where you make things move and do pretty stuff. It's basically on every website that you're going to go to. And I had no idea about it, and I wish I had, in college, like, A, known about Flash, and B, seeked out a class that I could learn that skill in, whether it was at Salem State or at another school. It's kind of cute, right? I kind of like the mouth. Doesn't make sense. Okay, so tomorrow I will vow never to procrastinate again. I do think that in college I was definitely ahead of the game in terms of my fellow classmates, specifically the ones, in my major and in my classes and my communications classes. But I really think I could have been even more ahead of the game. I think that, I could have been tweeting my freshman year or my sophomore year. I could have been blogging. I did do my portfolio. I steadily did that. But another thing that you really need to think about is LinkedIn. Who uses LinkedIn? Not one student has LinkedIn. Okay. LinkedIn is huge. Does anyone know what LinkedIn is? Okay, so some people know what it is. It's really important, and prime example. So LinkedIn, let's talk about it. It's kind of like a virtual resume, so you can put everything you've done and all of your experience in one place, link to it, and show any prospective employer what you've done. Very powerful tool. And also they headhunt you on there too. If they're looking for, a sophomore with this major for a certain internship, they're looking for you. I look for people on LinkedIn all day. Prime example of why LinkedIn is important. On my resume, again, senior year, someone said to me, you need to have your Facebook link, your Twitter link, and your LinkedIn link on your resume. And I did it. And when I got a call for my first interview for my current job, she said, I want to let you know that I checked out your LinkedIn, but all of your classmates are on it too. Everyone that graduated in communications from Salem State, I looked at everyone I could find, and no one compared to you. So they're also looking at your competition. So if you're not there, you're losing out. But also, if you're there, you have all these other people that you're graduating with, but you can be like, this is why I'm better. Because they're going to look at all your competition, which is, it's easy. It's so easy to be a strong personality online. And then your social networks need to wear a power suit too. Does anyone know what a power suit is? People know what it's like. Does anyone even have a suit? Good. It's really important to have a professional attire on when you're meeting people, but it's also important for when you're found online. This is a virtual representation of yourself. How do you want to be perceived? So your LinkedIn needs to have all of your experience. Your Twitter needs to be professional. It can't have, I was very drunk on Friday. You really can't have that stuff. Your Facebook too. What I opted to do, and I have a very innocent Facebook to start, but I made a new one with my real name, and it's only professional stuff on my feed, and it's really worth it. It's worth it to put the effort into for 2 seconds, create a new email address, and create a new Facebook with a headshot, no kick scans. It will really be worth it to you. So people-oriented, and I think that there's a perception among students that, if you go to class and you get B's, you're going to be able to get that job at, NBC or the Boston Globe. It's just not like that, and it's not bad to have big goals and big dreams and aspire to be something excellent, but it will be more convenient for you to think in baby steps. What steps or job opportunities will help you get to your dream job? So maybe your first job is going to be, filing at a newspaper company. That's more realistic than thinking, I'm going to be a columnist for the Globe. And really, you don't want to wait until you're 22 or 21 and a senior in college. You really want to start thinking about it now. It's totally manageable. And the nice thing at Salem State is that all the professors are here to support you through that endeavor. They understand that you have a lot of competition within your department and also within other schools. We get to my next point, is the Salem State stigma. And I didn't really know this existed until I started looking for jobs, or started looking for internships. There's this negative thing that people have sometimes against Salem State, and there's no reason why it needs to be that way, because there are awesome people that go to this school, there are awesome people that work at this school. Who has felt like any negativity towards Salem State? Has anyone? Okay, you don't have to admit it, but somewhere. Yeah, it doesn't need to be that way, and with so many great opportunities at Salem State, you want to be able to say, I took advantage of this opportunity, and this is what I have to bring to the table, because there are a lot more competitive schools in this area. I do find a tendency for some people I know to be like, well, why does it matter that I went to Salem State? It's still a bachelor's degree. But a bachelor's degree from Northeastern and a bachelor's degree from Salem State, they can be the same thing, but what did you do to go out to above and beyond? So you have just as many opportunities to do something that someone does at a private school and use them to your advantage. Another thing that one of my friends interned at a PR agency in Boston her senior year, so fall semester, and they told her, we don't ever hire Salem State students, so you're kind of rogue. And that's a terrible feeling, but it doesn't need to be like that because there's great talent here. So I don't know if you noticed in my presentation, I had a lot of chess pieces. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about, I wanted to talk about lining up all your pawns and all your different chess pieces into this great organization that you're going to put on your chessboard when you come, to your senior year to play the game. Because so much of interviewing and putting your resume together and getting great work opportunities, it's all just so you can play the game and you can compete against the other people that are graduating with the same degree as you. So a lot of people are going to have a communications degree, but what did you do outside of it? And you really need to be able to play the game. So I'm not sure who tweets, but if you're like me, don't be resistant to Twitter. If you want to follow me, that's great, and we can talk about professional stuff. I know I had nothing to say to anyone when I first started Twitter, so I'd be more than happy to just, back and forth about anything, but if we need to have some professional, polite stuff up there, feel free to follow me. And that's all I have.